Welcome back to What's Next? Living Longer, Better, Smarter. Today, Aging Well Anywhere, a tech bar for older adults, and a special spotlight with the CEO of CareYaya. This episode is made possible by Tokyo-based Living Best, a consumer-focused age tech initiative from the Carter Group. The initiative helps to advance promising new ventures and technologies with the resources and connections they need to succeed. Learn how they are empowering the future in the world's most aged society in Japan, with the potential for global impact. For more, visit living-best.tech. Mary, we have another exciting lineup of guests for everyone today. CareYaya CEO Neal Shah will be back for another spotlight segment. He is just out with an important new book, Insured to Death: How Health Insurance Screws Over Americans and How We Take It Back. You don't want to miss that. We'll also be hearing from the CEO of Simpson, where they're finding great interest in a tech bar for older adults.
I'm really excited about those guests, but first up, we have a great friend for you to meet from a very important organization.
Mary, U.S. Aging is celebrating 50 years as the national organization representing area agencies on aging and the Title VI Native American aging programs, and there's a new campaign designed to increase public awareness. And we're excited to have with us on the podcast again, CEO Sandy Markwood. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Fred. So wonderful to be here with you and Mary.
Sandy, we so appreciate you taking time with us this morning. The work you've been doing is remarkable, and I think it's important for everyone to understand more about its scope. You really touch people in their homes and communities through the area agencies. So tell us more.
Sure. Well, thanks for giving me this opportunity, Mary. 50 years, area agencies on aging, and also for a little bit less time than that, Title VI Native American aging programs have been working in communities to ensure that older adults can live well at home and in the community. And so, given this anniversary, we think it's really important to focus in for all older adults who all want to live a long and healthy life on how to connect better to area agencies on aging to get the supports and services that they need to age well.
Tell us more about the awareness campaign, what it consists of, and the goals here, Sandy.
Well, in looking at the numbers of older adults in this country, which continue to increase, and what we know from research is that over the life course, as people age, 2/3 of older adults are going to need some level of supportive services to be able to age well at home and in the community. And that's where the area agencies on aging step in. But oftentimes, area agencies on aging, even though they're serving 12 million older adults every year, there's 58 million older adults. So we want to make sure that all older adults recognize the services and supports that exist at the community level to help them age well. So that's what this campaign is all about. It's really giving visibility to the services and supports that area agencies on aging provide in every community in this country, and to encourage older adults and their caregivers to plan for aging so that they do recognize and realize their goal of aging well.
And what does the campaign consist of?
Well, it's a comprehensive campaign, Fred. So what we're looking at is really incorporating social media, newspaper articles. We're doing videos of all of the core services that area agencies on aging do, as well as encouraging our members to do local events that really highlight and educate older adults and caregivers on what aging well really can mean, preventative services, and really connecting them to community resources, area agencies and other aging organizations at the local level that can help them achieve the goal of aging well.
That's such an important idea. It makes me feel like I want to get involved and help spread the word. And I know, Sandy, that the services are not just for older adults, they're for their caregivers and people with disabilities. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure, Mary. I think, all area agencies on aging, because they're funded with the Older Americans Act, serve older adults age 60 plus. Now, a lot of us in the 60s don't really think of ourselves as older adults, but the services and supports are for people 60 plus. In the Native tribal communities, it's actually the age is a little lower. But area agencies on aging are serving caregivers of all ages. And also more and more from a recent survey we just did, over 70% of area agencies on aging are serving people under the age of 60 who have a functional impairment or some type of disability and need home and community-based services. So they really are serving a broad swath of the community with critical services to keep people aging well at home and in the community.
What are some of the more important services? I guess they're all important depending on your needs. What kinds of services are being provided today, and where can people go to learn more about them?
Sure. Well, Fred, there is a long and a really extensive list of services provided by area agencies on aging. Most provide at least 26 types of services, but some of the key ones are nutrition, home delivered or congregate meals, transportation services, looking at improving and opportunities for social engagement, recognizing that social isolation is such an important concern, looking at caregiver support, as well as in-home services and supports, and also providing case management services to try to tie all of these together in a person-centered way for an individual. Home modification, home repair, legal assistance, the list goes on, Fred, which is why it's so important that people reach out and find out about these services before they need them, before they're in crisis, so that they can plan well for their aging.
And of course, we have the boomers turning 80 next year. And so the services and the demand is just going to grow. But that gap you talk about, Sandy, is really important between those that are using them and those that are not aware. So it's great news on the campaign. So this is a busy time of year for you. Your annual conference is coming up in Chicago, 50th annual conference. We'll be doing a panel on investment trends. So tell us more about that.
Well, Mary, we're so thrilled that you're going to be there. And I think it's so important when we look at where we are in our history is, to look back on the evolution of the aging network and the work that area agencies has done, but really to look forward to what the opportunities are going to be in the future. And that's what the focus of this conference is. So we're looking at developing more public-private partnerships, looking at contracting with healthcare, recognizing the importance of the critical home and community-based services that AAAs provide to someone's health and well-being. But other issues are, I mentioned social isolation, recognizing that 24% of older adults, recognize or report that they are socially isolated. 43% say that they are lonely. So looking at that critical social engagement, which is really a public health issue. Looking at healthy aging in general, evidence-based health promotion and disease prevention programs, looking at brain health, recognizing that there are so many things that we can do to improve our cognitive health. And so many of them are really involved in programs and services that AAAs do, whether it's nutrition, physical activity, social engagement, medication management, but also supporting people who do have dementia, and again, recognizing and supporting the critical role that caregivers play. Those are all topics that we're covering and more.
And I don't think we mentioned the logistics here, Sandy. So tell us where and when.
So the conference will be beginning it's going to be held in Chicago at the Sheraton in Chicago, starting on the 19th. We have some pre-conferences on the 18th of July and running through the 23rd. And we are excited. We have over 1,200 people already registered, a full exhibit hall of different vendors who are there really with services and supports that area agencies and other aging professionals really need. So we're very excited about the possibilities of honoring the past, but really forging the future.
Sandy, I know all the work that's going into this, and we're happy to help increase the public awareness of all that you do and all that the agencies do. Congratulations again, and thank you so much for taking time with us.
Oh, Mary, Fred, it's wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Great leadership, Sandy.
You're kind.
Barry, we talk pretty often about how technology can improve the lives of older adults. And some of it is pretty intuitive, and some of it isn't always so easy. At the Jenner's Pond community, part of Simpson, which has been serving the greater Philadelphia area for more than 150 years, I think it's 160 now,
Yeah.
even. They have a pretty amazing approach. With us is Simpson CEO Carol McKinley. Hi, Carol.
Hi, nice to be here today.
Carol, we're excited to have you with us on our podcast. Maybe you could start a little more with your background. I understand Simpson was founded by women, and I just have to say that my maiden name is Simpson, so I'm really Mary Simpson Furlong, but no relation, I think, to this. And of course, my college friends still call me by my maiden name. But tell us more about you and the background in the community.
So I've been in the elder care field for over 35 years. I think it's getting closer to 40. I've been hung out there on 35 for a long time, but and it is a calling to me to work with older adults. And I have served in a variety of positions, predominantly administrative positions, but in retirement communities. I have done some in acute hospital work. My previous education, I have my bachelor's and master's in social work, but I focused on older adult care and medical, or the health field. And then I eventually went on and received my doctorate in administration, which had a focus predominantly on the not-for-profit side of our world. So, and I have basically worked in not-for-profit organizations. I've been here at Simpson as their president and CEO since 2020. I started here right at the beginning of COVID. And Montgomery County, which is where our corporate offices sit, was the first epicenter for COVID. So my first week on the job, we had to shut down all of the communities. So I had to learn my teams and my communities via technology, Zoom and telephone. And so it was a very interesting time for us. Simpson has a wonderful history, as you've just mentioned. It was initiated by women way back in the 1800s. Jane Henry, who was the wife of one of the United Methodist Methodist pastors in the Philadelphia area, he had passed away. She had served in Civil War by taking care of wounded soldiers. And when the Civil War came to an end, she needed her energies to be channeled elsewhere. She had spent a lot of time in the church focused on older adults, and so that transitioned nicely to supporting and desiring to initiate the care, a more institutional way of caring for older adults. So she was the initiator of Simpson way back in 1865. She brought on Bishop Simpson, who was a bishop in the United Methodist Church, and his wife Ellen. They both they were involved as pastors in the United Methodist Church. Bishop Simpson was also a physician, and he was an educator. So she had good listeners to her ideas, and they supported those. And really, between the three of them, strongly pushed Simpson into who it is today. The other piece that is really interesting about Bishop Simpson is that he was quite a friend to President Lincoln, and spent a lot of time working around the abolition movement. So we appreciate that side of our world in talking about diversity. We feel like we had early signs of that with the work that they were doing. Bishop Simpson actually did President Lincoln's eulogy in Illinois when President Lincoln passed. So we have a lot of history in our organization that's very meaningful to us. But I am, in our country, there are not many women president CEOs in our field, and I feel honored to have hit that in one of my goals of where I am in my career.
That is so impressive. I have to tell you that every summer I teach women in leadership in the
Yeah.
MBA program at Santa Clara. And currently in my book group, which meets tomorrow, we're reading Julia Morgan's biography, which is about this woman architect. So my life right now is filled with inspirational women, and you are certainly one of them. And I love that history. I mean, Julia Morgan, after the earthquake, they got the contract to build the Fairmont Hotel and Mills College. And that history is part of the legacy. And I think leaders today need to hear from women like you. So
Well,
things
thank you.
must be really special that are happening there, because our friends at AMBA have been working with you and they told us about this innovation. And of course, I think Fred mentioned that I was the founder of SeniorNet. So we had learning centers, and I always embrace when you have a tech bar, and you have a tech bar at Jenner's Pond. What happens at the tech bar?
So the tech bar was a vision that I've had for years. It's interesting when you, first of all, I embrace technology. It's not going to go away. You have to lean into it and go along for the ride, but also participate in how to intentionally support what's going to work. And in doing focus groups with older adults to understand where their heads are around technology, I would often hear, well, I'm not involved in any kind of technology. And then we'd start talking about their hobbies, and I would listen to the fact that they had sewing machines that had all of the bells and whistles on of new ways to do stitching. And I just had my old Singer sewing machine, or residents that were using different types of computers. So they would have their Microsoft computer that would help them handle their spreadsheets for all of their financial, but then they were using an Apple computer to help them with designing their Christmas cards. And it was very interesting to bring to their attention that they were using technology and that they were well beyond what a number of people perceived their abilities to be. But where we saw that people needed support was as new technology was coming out. We were seeing smart televisions coming on site and people being able to use iPads to connect through FaceTime. And so I would hear residents talk about the desire to know more about that. In addition, we were watching technology coming about. We get lots of emails of people who have new things they want to try, and they want to pilot with you because they think that you have this audience that's right there, and trying to discern what's going to be okay and what's not going to be okay. And then also, again, going back and talking with your residents as to what is important for them. And so the tech bar idea was, how do we help get new technologies in front of our residents where they can kind of taste and try and attempt and get questions answered? What's the ease of using it? And but really having something that we can bring to the communities to do that. And I'd seen at a supplier who was bringing technologies into their industry, they had a kind of a similar idea of a technology bar to show their customers of all the different types of technologies that they were using. So I was thinking, why can't we just bring that into a retirement community? So I was at Jenner's Pond, we were able to birth this idea. I can tell you I had a little bit of pushback originally. His residents there were like, why are we expending dollars on something like this? It could be used elsewhere. And our messages back were talking about we need to be relevant. Technology is not going to is not going to be held back. We need to be prepared for this world. So we just dived into it and pushed ahead. And now it's like a 180. The residents love it, and will say to me, like, now we have a person called a tech concierge who helps support the tech bar. By educating and by helping to bring new technology in. They'll say, we need more tech concierge people. We don't have enough. So it's really exciting to see the mindset that changed once we were able to bring the technology in front of people. And it's, and it varies of the types of technology. When I first started with talking with a group of residents there, we were talking more about the smart houses. How do you, can we get a Nest for, for your heating and how do you have a voice activated blind that can come down? How do we voice activate lamps? That group of residents said to me, yeah, that's all fine and good, but we can already do that. What else are you bringing to the table? And that's where we started hearing the concerns about wellness and health and what is out there that can help us track that better or can make us feel more confident as we live independently. Some had smartwatches, but there's so many other interesting ways to do this that a smartwatch may not capture. So in the technology bar, we do have some of the smart devices related to smart homes, but we also have looked to devices that help support health. So, for example, a Bluetooth weigh scale. I mean, not many people have those or they go to the traditional scale. But if you're a person that has to monitor their weight, maybe you suffer from congestive heart failure and the doctor says you need to be within this 5-pound weight range or you have to give me a call. That Bluetooth scale you can stand on it. That data can go to their computer. Then that can be emailed to their doctor and they can immediately see a log of the weight changes. And then the doctor is the one or the nurse practitioner, PA, can react and call and say, we want to change your medication or everything is fine. So the technology bar is there to help support bringing in new technology, providing an easy way for our residents to test it, an easy way for our family members to test it, to have them engage in conversations about it, and then for us to help get it for them if they want to bring it into their independent living program.
Tell us more about the staffing, Carol. You mentioned concierge. Are these employees or do you have people who live there who are kind of up on stuff to help
Yeah,
out?
so when I first came to Simpson, there were a group of residents at Generous Pond that were very up on technology and loved it. And they put their own committee together. And that's how I initially became engaged with them as to what they do and how they do. What I recognized and what they share with me is we're getting older and this is not, though we love this, we feel like we need more support around it. We ended up hiring the tech concierge person is our employee at Generous Pond, and he's very skilled in the work that he does. Though he is not, he does not have a degree in computer science or the other very technology degrees that are out there. He actually has I believe his degree is in history, but his parents both are vetted significantly in technology, and this young man learned how to take computers apart and put them back together from a young age. So again, when you're looking at people who can help support you, you may not find that person in that arena that you expect them to come from. And we were handed a gift when we were looking for someone. He's very good at talking with the residents and sharing with them, educating them, mentoring them. But also he loves technology and you can say, can you look for this? Or I just found this. Would you mind checking this out? He loves that. And so he's been a wonderful add to our organization.
And are you expanding this concept to other communities for Simpson?
Our desire is to expand it to our other two communities. Our tech concierge right now does travel to the other two. The three communities are probably 45 minutes to an hour apart. But living in a city, that can be, travel time is significant there, as you can imagine. But he travels, he has a schedule that he goes to the other two communities to help them help their technology information evolve. But the hope is that we can have a tech bar at those other two communities as well.
So this is
What a
really
great idea.
exciting, right, Fred? Don't you think?
Really,
This
really a great idea. And the key is it's not just knowing about the tech and how things work, it's being able to work with and explain it and in terms that everybody can understand. And it sounds like you've
It is.
accomplished that.
It is, because as you know, when new technology comes out, you don't get a written handbook that tells you how to use it. You have to go online, and then you have to discern from that what's important. How do you turn it on? How do you turn it off? One of my one of the aspects that makes this more important to me is when I think of my own parents who lived away from me. They were about 5 hours away, and my dad had Parkinson's. So talking to him on the phone was challenging. So I purchased an Echo Show for my dad, and the commercials tell you how easy that is to use. But ultimately, once we got it, you had to be able to input someone's Apple phone number into my parents didn't own Apple phones. And then we had to figure out how to do it. It wasn't as easy as the commercials made it. So our tech concierge has helped support the residents by taking the information and really bulleting it out on paper form to help support their learning of how you do this. Because something as simple as turning on and turning off, and some of it is just you look at a new iPad or a new notebook and you're turning it around trying to figure out where is the on off button. They're all different. And so that can be that's the first thing can be discouraging to a person that says, I'm not using this. And then that shuts down their ability to support learning and advancing and connecting with their family, connecting with their friends, or wanting to try something new. The things that we bring to the tech bar are to help people either to remain as independent as possible or to learn about themselves so that they can predict problems or issues, which is why we love AMBA, because that's what they do. I mean, it's all about predictability. And to test things out. We talk about smart locks. I look at what my children have on the doors of new housing. They have a code that they now do. They don't use keys anymore. Well, you can't change out an entire retirement community of 300 plus independent living units with that type. And some people don't want that. They still want to use a traditional key. But a person who desires that or suffers from eyesight issues or has some kind of neurological issue where they can't manage a key, if we can show them some smart locks in the tech bar that they can experience there, and then they're like, I can use this, then we can help get that on their unit. They pay for that, but we've helped them get it there. And now they have a way to experience independent life on just entering and exiting their home, which is really important to somebody who's getting older, who's thinking, now they're going to think I can't get into my home because I'm calling them all the time for help. And they're going to start thinking I need to be somewhere else than in the home I love. So
this is so exciting, and it's so near and dear to my heart, having been with SeniorNet, and I saw the value of this community coming together to solve problems and to test new technologies. Do you see this as a competitive advantage, being sort of technology forward and a leader? Do you see it as an advantage in terms of recruiting staff and recruiting community members in Simpson?
we do. It's interesting, as much as we talk about technology, it is not rampant in our field. There are very few of us across this country who have really started to jump in and take risks. Some of that is there's a variety of reasons for that. It's selecting technology and figuring out how to do that. Some of it's financial. Some of this technology comes with big prices. But we know that if it's not your residents, it's your children of your residents who know that this technology exists, and they would be looking to you to help support that. So it's absolutely a market differentiator in that regard. In terms of staff, I do find it a differentiator, but we have to continue to work on that. So most of us have electronic medical records, which was the big deal years and years ago that everyone had to have that. But our students that are coming out of colleges, whether they're bachelor's, master's, or doctoral levels, they are coming out of programs that are offering cool tools. They are utilizing technology in their programs. They have labs that they're utilizing. And then they come out and they come into our field, whether it's elder care, whether it's hospital care, and we're all antiquated. We don't have the cool tools, which makes it hard to attract good people in. So I do feel as we become more sophisticated with our technology, that it will make a difference to our workforce in pulling people in. I think secondly, the other barrier that we're constantly working with are those who are already in our organizations that don't know technology and are afraid of it. And so helping them with the learning curve to get them there so we don't lose them. And so we experienced that with AMBA, helping slowly bring people in to understand the meaning of the data that we were gathering and how it would make their work more efficient. It would help them be more critically thoughtful in terms of how they care. It's opening up a different world that they're not used to.
We really love hearing your leadership in this community. It's really so impressive, and the long tenure you've had as a leader. So congratulations to you and the team there, and thank you so much for sharing this morning with us.
Thank you for having me. It's always a joy to talk about these things, and I really appreciate your interest and your passion for it as well. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the site for more info is Simpson, Simpson, senior.org. And that brings us to our Spotlight segment with CareYaya CEO Neal Shah. Neal, we typically shine the spotlight on one of the amazing students who are working with you as caregivers, now numbering in the tens of thousands. But today, a twist. You have a book just published that I am finding really eye-opening. Many others are too. Insured to Death: How Health Insurance Screws Over Americans and How We Take It Back. Neal, this and CareYaya really have grown out of a personal ordeal.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Thanks, Mary. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, it has indeed. Several years ago, prior to shifting my, career to social impact and healthcare, I was a hedge fund manager in New York, and my wife went through a very severe bout with cancer, and it was kind of like my first eye-opening experience into how broken our care system is. Obviously the caregiving itself led me and inspired me to form CareYaya, but the health insurance part was equally frustrating. We had what would be considered kind of top-tier healthcare, and we dealt with a lot of denials for care, not medically necessary, a lot of treatments, a lot of scans. And, I spent so many countless hours fighting the health insurance companies. And it was infuriating, and I'd kind of forgotten about the experience. And several years later, here I'm running CareYaya, and I'm seeing so many families we help dealing with this, especially dealing with Medicare Advantage plans. The family caregivers are just at wit's end of how to help people, their loved ones get the care they need. And, while I wouldn't wish my own experience upon anyone else, I think the personal experience combined with the professional experience really kind of inspires and catalyzes a desire for advocacy, and both fixing the system within the system, which is through some of the work we're doing at Counterforce Health and launching the AI tools, but also advocating for a better system. I think our over $4 trillion healthcare system is just fundamentally broken. And it's leaving behind a lot of patients and families, and the large insurers have weaponized AI to deny claims. So I think it's one of the big societal issues of our time. So I appreciate the opportunity.
And Neal, there are many struggles with insurance that so many people have had. Many are really tragic, and you share them with us in the book. Do you want to chat about? Now, in my case, I've had very successful experiences. So there is that other side of the story.
Yeah.
But, help us understand what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in writing the book, I talked to tons of people who are patients, family caregivers, even doctors, even former, people working at these health insurance companies. And, I think that one, the individual cases are very striking, but two, also the pattern is very striking, that that I think the most important statistic that anyone can walk away with is, I think 800 million claims were denied last year for healthcare. Approximately 50 million people, have experienced this in the last year. So 1 in 5 American had experienced a denied claim within the last year. And 99% of people are not appealing, because they don't know their rights, they're intimidated, et cetera. But I think the critical stat is when people appeal, they typically win 50% of the time. So I think that itself should go to show you that the system is totally broken, and that the denial is just a way to inconvenience or confuse the patient. And if somebody takes the effort to appeal, they win half the time. So I think that one is a systemic issue, that, this is just like a minimally regulated field where denied care is just pocketed as profit by the insurer. But I think, from the stories, I'd say, I mean, there's so many stories, like, I'll share the story of, and we anonymize names for, patient, kind of identity. But, Sarah, a third grade teacher with brain cancer, life-saving chemo is denied as non-medically necessary, by somebody who didn't know her. And, I think that I share examples like this throughout the book of how AI is deployed by insurers, how doctors are reviewing some of these, if they are reviewing them, on average 1.2 seconds. So these decisions are being made almost programmatically by people who haven't even met these patients. And they're not really isolated incidents. I think they're features rather than a bug of, the current health insurance system. And I think that's it's not working for many people, so I think it's really, really got to change. And, I think all of us know people that have experienced this, whether it's firsthand within our own family or friends. And, it's just sickening. And I think my last point is people with resources and time can fight back, but many people can't. So I think those people are just then left without care or left with an insane amount of bills, which then results in financial strain and financial toxicity. And I think these are topics that public health researchers are spending a lot of time looking into. The financial toxicity of cancer diagnosis is very well known. And it's not because you don't have insurance. It's people with insurance are experiencing financial toxicity, which is like really sad.
And, we have the most well-educated older population that we've ever had, but you've invented this new role with CareYaya. Is there a need for like a health insurance concierge role where someone can help you navigate? Or what other advice would you have for people who are watching? What action should you take? I think the point you made about just don't take it at face value, you've been denied. There's a big opportunity to try again.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we're spending a lot of time looking into kind of health advocacy and what you call patient advocacy. Medicare now officially is starting to cover some patient advocacy. So it is like a line that we may consider entering, and I hope other people enter the field too. People should definitely get guidance and advice. I think at a minimum, I think the key takeaway, from the book itself, and I highly recommend people kind of read it just to inform themselves because they may face with these issues at some point in the future, is never accept a bill or a denial as final. That reviews can overturn this 50 to 80% of the time. Through our products at Counterforce Health, we're achieving over a 70% win rate. So it means that just taking basic steps, getting kind of the documentation right, citing medical evidence and kind of explaining need, and then having people that are informed review it can really help you get the care you need. And then I think in line with that, document everything. Document everything so that you can use it for a great appeals process. And then I think, frankly, document everything so you can use it for social media. I think, in my book, I talk about, there's a great story in here of a father whose daughter's leukemia treatment was denied for 8 months. And he documented everything and posted a denial letter on social media. And literally within 24 hours, 3,700 people had shared it. A reporter called, state representative called, and by that evening, the insurance company suddenly resolved this misunderstanding. I mean, it's sad that this is what people have to do in this day and age, but, this is also the opportunity to do a public service announcement to inform people and arm people.
And you said, Neal, that the insurers often might be using AI. It's not even a human involved with denying claims. And you're using AI to fight, to help with the appeals and do it very cost effectively with Counterforce Health.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think, I shared the story about these Cigna doctors, that were denying claims on average with 1 second, 1.2 second was the exact number per each denial. So like literally zero review. It's just like programmatically happening with minimal human evaluation. So we built a suite of AI tools to kind of fight AI with AI and streamline and automate the process. Because when the insurer denies, and then you as a human have to do 8 hours of research to write detailed letters and pull everything from medical journals and pull everything from your health record and coverage document, that takes forever. So we built a platform that is freely available to people. They can go to counterforcehealth.org, and from a patient site, it's completely free to use. Quickly set up an account, upload relevant information, and our platform can analyze a denial letter, identify key arguments, read through the coverage policy document, and generate a very personalized, well-cited, robust appeal, citing medical evidence within less than 2 minutes, something that would take sometimes weeks or more, of like asking doctors and spending hours on it yourself. And I think that is key, both from streamlining the process of appealing, but also reducing people's time and burden to appeal. So I think a lot of times the power dynamic here is skewed, where the insurance industry's power relies either on intimidation, ignorance, or just kind of like somebody's fear of wasting too much time. So I think when patients can kind of unite and people can build AI tools to help patients, then the power dynamic changes for the good. So yeah, we're helping a lot of patients. We're also now helping a lot of clinics, which is really cool, because that one of the other key things in my book, not to kind of harp on the point, is just the moral injury to doctors. These doctors spent their whole lives, studying for this stuff, entering these fields. They're getting absolutely exhausted, by insurance companies regulating what they can and can't do. And many times the doctor to fight back. So then they feel bad that the patient didn't get the care. So I think it's equally important from that side to reduce the burden.
So, what's been the reaction to the book so far?
It's been awesome. It's been awesome. So pleased to say #1 on Amazon right now in health policy and in health insurance. It's doing really well. We've gotten tons of sales, and we price it at cost. So it's like we're not making any money on it. It's I'd give it away for free, frankly, but Amazon is a distribution channel. And the main reaction has been a lot of inbound messages. So tons of people hit me up on LinkedIn, have reached out to us on Counterforce to use the free tools. But interestingly enough, the reaction has been not just from patients and patient advocacy groups. We have heard from a lot of cancer advocacy groups, but interestingly, I've heard from former very large multi-billion-dollar health insurance company CEOs. That has been the most shocking. I won't name the names, but these are household names of very large companies that now, and these are people who have sometimes built these businesses and retired in the last 10 or 15 years. And they've personally reached out and said, yes, like completely agree with many of these points. And they're almost ashamed that the industry has lost sight of its mission and has gotten itself into such a PR problem, that this is becoming an epidemic problem across society. I've also heard from a lot of doctors, both independent clinicians, as well as people at large healthcare systems who are extremely frustrated with this. So I think that beyond the book itself, I mean, it's awesome people are buying the book, but I just hope that the public service announcement and advocacy effort can increase and intensify, and really ladder all the way up into DC, because I think policymakers are really taking a long, hard look at this problem. And I think there's going to be changes one way or the other. But what currently our system is doing is not working. Yeah.
We'll look to you in the future to hear about some of those changes. So congratulations, Neal. Congratulations on the book. And we're cheering for you and the whole team at CareYaya.
Thank you, Mary. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Fred.
Well, thank you, Neal. And thanks, of course, as well to Carol McKinley and Sandy Markwood. And we want to thank our sponsor, Tokyo-based Living Best, a user-first age tech initiative from the Carter Group that screens and adapts promising ventures and connects them with commercial opportunities and capital in Japan. Learn how they're empowering successful age tech investment there, the world's most aged society. For more, visit living-best.tech. And we appreciate all of you for taking the time to watch or listen. Please help to spread the word. And remember, you can always find more at maryfurlong.com/podcasts.